flyweight title fight, the rematch between Alexandre Pantoja versus Brandon Royval. Flyweight's my favorite division, and it has been for like a decade probably. The top end of flyweight is so much fun to me because you have to be so technically and mechanically proficient because it's so fast that we
Yep.
just see high level fights consistently, especially at the top of the division. People may say it's shallow. I don't think it's shallow either. I think it's pretty stacked. And this is a rematch between two guys that are in bangers every single time they fight. So I was very much looking forward to this more so than the main event. And I don't know. Judging by what people are saying about it online, I think this maybe disappointed some people. I loved it. What did you think of it?
I think anybody who is disappointed in this fight is one of those that's like affected by recency bias and kind of comes to expect something, and their
Yeah,
disappointment was more of a reflection of like them not getting what they thought they were going to get more than
yeah,
anything else.
basically
Like
that.
the fight wasn't bad. It was a good fight, but they were
Mhm.
all trying to think that we were going to see another Brandon Moreno fight in there, and
Yeah,
that's not what these two do.
yeah. I mean, Royval usually does that, right? Royval is fucking crazy. He's throwing wild shit. He's getting dropped and then dropping the guy as soon as he stands up. Pantoja is a fucking assassin, though. He is so slick. Um, his Jack Slack always calls him the I think it's like the bar brawling back taker because he makes you think just like he maybe tricked the audience that he's just going to go out there and have a slugfest. But in the heat of those things, his grappling is so goddamn slick.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, he took Royval down. I pulled the stats up because I needed to know. He took him down 8 times across 5 rounds.
Yep.
Um,
Almost
you
two
know,
times around.
yeah, 15 of the 25 minutes was him on top. Um, his striking, he hits hard clearly, but he does a lot of like doubling up and tripling up with the same hand, where
Yeah.
he'll just like punch his way in with right hands, or like he'll switch to southpaw and he's just reaching with that right hand like 3 times.
Yeah, and it's
Um,
usually him clearing across the whole cage
yeah,
where he's like starting on one end and makes his way all the way to the other side of the cage by the time he ends.
yeah, and you either catch him countering or he's gonna run through, and while you're covering up on all these punches, he's under your hips and he's taking you down.
Yeah.
Uh, Shout out Keith says I thought it was a great technical fight. Um, you know, the first round, Pantoja goes out and he's like storming the gates, like he's running at him, landing big punches, and Royval's like he's in it, but like he's getting overwhelmed a little bit, I think. And I think that was also part of the misdirection, which was like we're swinging and banging tonight, except as soon as you commit, I'm under your hips and you're on
Yep.
your back. um, his transitions on the ground I thought were amazing. They always are. He'll end up in guard. He passed a half guard at one point, and if he's on the right side of half guard, you can either pass around the right side to side control, or you could step through with your left leg, the leg that's in between your opponent's legs, step through and mount him. And there's a point where he's on his right hip. He's trying to push that leg down and try to pass that left leg through to go to mount. And he's, sometimes he gets stuck. So you're like, you shimmy it, right? And each shimmy, it like gets closer and closer and closer to freeing. And then as soon as it seemed like he would, he steps back, he backsteps and ends up taking side control instead. And I thought it was beautiful. It was such a great like setup, and you can see there's guys who are jujitsu, like world class jujitsu guys, like Oliveira or someone who's thrown up submissions off his back and things like that. But misdirections and false, like feeding a false hope, is something that
Yeah.
like is harder to spot, I think, and maybe doesn't get recognized as like a top tier jujitsu guy. But that's what Pantoja was doing. The same thing in half guard. Instead of doing the misdirect on that, he gives Royval the underhook, lets him get to a hip, get deep into what he's thinking is either a sweep or a stand up. And then as soon as he commits fully and he thinks he's about to get it, he steps over and takes his back. Like it just such cool, like it's just a chess match with him. And,
Yeah. He did the same thing when he was like stood up over standing over Royval and Royval was like about to get up. He would like
Oh yeah,
allow him to sort of get up and put his hand on the mat. And now that he didn't have that other hand to defend, that would be when Pantoja would jump on top of him. And
yeah,
instead of being trapped in the guard, he would like shoot right over either into side or into half guard.
yeah. I mean, you think you're making progress, but really you're just playing into exactly what he wanted you to. Um, and he's also one of those guys that he just looks exhausted.
Yeah,
The later
all
rounds,
the
he just
time.
looks it's crazy, and he
I think
fights
he
like
is
he's exhausted.
exhausted a
I
few
think he
times
is.
too. Yeah.
Yeah, because I think it was the fourth and fifth round where he switched southpaw, or actually it was the fifth round where he switched southpaw because he was orthodox primarily most of the fight. He switched southpaw and he's just throwing that right hand as his lead hand now. And every time he does it, he's just leaning over his leg, like he's not using his feet at all. They're just arm punches, and that's when Royval finally started having some success. But he looked exhausted for the last 3 rounds up to that point, and he was still taking him down, outworking him on the ground, taking his
Yeah.
back, threatening with chokes. I mean, the guy, like, he's just so skilled. He's so skilled. Um, and now he's 5-0 against Brandon's. How about that? Isn't that crazy?
It's very true. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's weird. I think Pantoja is one of those guys that he can. It's almost it's a benefit, but it's a handicap to him. Like I think because he's so technically sound, he's fighting through being tired, and he's like, oh well, I'm still technically sound, and it's like, yeah, it's carrying you through some of these fights, but then like,
Mhm.
bro, those last 2 rounds, any one thing could have like put you on the back end of that fight, and you could have all your work could have got thrown out. So I think
Yeah.
he's not working on his cardio when he can, or when he should be, and where he should be, and
Mhm.
it may rear its ugly head here come pretty soon.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to bank off being able to fight exhausted because, like you said, any one of those strikes could have been a complete fight shifting shot.
Yeah,
And there was times in the Moreno fight where it looked like he was about to get finished. And you cannot have a long title run of fights like that. It just
no,
eventually that will catch up and that will bite you in the ass. Um, and maybe that's just he's fighting these guys and he's gonna fight like that. When he fought Manel Cop, he fought very differently, right? So like maybe it's just he saw something in both these guys that like I need to push that pace early and then I'll be able to continue through the exhaustion.
hmm
Um, Brandon Royval, good jujitsu. He's active off his back, a lot more active in this fight than we've seen him in the past. But it's one thing to be active offensively, but you got to be like defensively active too, and try to get up and not accept the
yeah,
position, not landing punches, not trying to because you're not going to throw up a triangle on Pantoja, like it's just not going to happen.
no.
Um, hey, there's Trump. Look at him. I was hoping there was going to be a picture like this with Colby on bottom with Trump just sitting there disappointed, but there was none.
Just his hand in his fake hair, just
Yeah, just damn. I banked on another loser. But yeah, Pantoja gets the win. I thought he looked great. Royval looked good. I saw someone say that Royval um, is the flyweight Carlos Condit, and I 100% agree with that because he is
I can see
wild
it.
on the feet. He strings together weird combinations. He looks kind of sloppy sometimes, but it's not. It's like controlled sloppiness. And but the takedown defense has got to be better. And that was always Carlos Condit's weak point. He's out there banging with dudes and then getting taken down.
Yeah,
He says he needs
he
the
has too
Goggins
much of a
training.
he has too much of an acceptance of being where somebody else put him. He needs to have a bit of more sense of urgency. Like,
Yeah, a
yeah,
little bit.
you may be able to defend from being submitted, but you gotta, like you were saying, you gotta have more than I know he has the ability, but you gotta have the want to get up from those
Yeah.
positions. You can't just be sitting there.
Yeah, because I mean, if we look at it, round one, 2.5 minutes were top control by Pantoja. Round
Hmm
two, 3:44. Round three, 2:15. Round four, 4:20. And round five, even though
Nice.
you could say, yeah, you could say Royval won round five, and I think he did. Uh,
He did.
Pantoja still had 2 minutes and 45 seconds of control. More
Yeah.
than half the
Also,
round was Pantoja's control. So like the clock's ticking in those moments, you
yeah,
know?
and another big thing is like all that control time. Like when you finally did get up, you had like 30 seconds in all three of the first
Yeah.
rounds. Like if you're gonna get up, you got to get up like with some time to do something to turn the judges' viewpoint. Like the recency bias is a big thing when it comes to judging. They're gonna judge that back end of that fight a lot better than they are gonna judge anything else. So you can't give
Yeah.
yourself only 30 seconds to work off of that.
No, no. Royval 111 significant strikes to Pantoja's 95. So he did
which
outstrike
is
him,
crazy
but you know,
for how little time he actually was on his feet. That's actually pretty crazy.
yeah, he outstruck him in rounds 2, 3, 4, and 5.
Yeah.
But it's not boxing, you
Yep.
know. But yeah, fun fight. I like Pantoja a lot as a champion. I'm interested to see what's next. There's some guys that he should be fighting. Kai Kara France, Manel Kopp. I'd like to see a rematch there across 5 rounds. Yeah, I want to see him continue. But fun fight.
I think if they book the Manel Cap fight, it's just going to make your life a little bit harder whenever you go online and people are telling you that the division's shallow when it's been a rematch for the past, what, 3 or 4 title fights?
Yeah, true. That's not a good
It's not a good look, as Joe Rogan would say.
Yeah.
Hey everybody, Romero and Will here. Thank you so much for watching that short clip. It's just a small clip of what we covered this last Sunday.
Yeah, if you want to check out the full fight card recap, the link is in the description, and it's going to be on screen at the end here. Don't forget to go back and watch our fighter interviews that we have. And don't forget to tune in live every Sunday morning at 9 a.m. Pacific, 12 p.m. Eastern, and you can join in on the fun.
Yeah, don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. It goes a long way. All right, everybody, thanks for watching that short clip from Story of the Fight.